Here we are 1 year later. I have been driving my Cybertruck for over a year and over 20,000 miles at this point. We made it. The haters said it wouldn't last a year. They said it would break. What? It's not gonna last 2 years. You said 1 year. Yeah, all right, well, moving the goalpost, but that's fine. Here it is, 1 year later, my Tesla Cybertruck, nice and dirty, and man, has this thing been awesome, but not perfect. There's been lots of problems. I've had it to service a bunch of times, and we're gonna talk about all of that in this video. But I wanna start off here outside, and I wanna start off with that right there behind me. Let's go check it out. You see, I'm like a futuristic redneck. I got car parts in my yard, but they're Cybertruck car parts. So I did get backed into near the beginning of owning my Cybertruck, and the back of this panel bent. Now, it barely bent, and it mostly actually got bent back, and I probably could have left it, but the truck was brand new. It wasn't my responsibility to pay for. So I did get this replaced. I'll talk about it more later in the video. I think it was around $3 grand or so for parts and labor and all that. I think this whole piece was about 2,000. So I told Tesla though, hey, I paid for that. I want this and I'm gonna play with it. So what I've done with it over the past year is not much. I mostly took it and just set it out here. We did launch some fireworks off of it over here. So that was funny, and we liked doing that. And then I've done a few other things over time just to kind of mess with it, but mostly I just wanted it to sit out here and weather and kind of see how the stainless steel weathered if you didn't wash it, you didn't take care of it, you didn't really do anything to it, you just let it sit there. And again, it's only been a year. I'm gonna leave it out here. So I live out here, so I don't have an HOA or anything. I can do what I want. And so we're gonna leave this out here and let it continue to weather. But there's a couple of interesting things I've done. Let's start here with the rust, I guess, because I'm sure everyone is gonna go crazy over that. And what I did is at some point during the winter, I don't have time frames on any of this stuff, we're just doing it for fun. I came out here and I sprinkled salt all over it. Additionally, I put a pile of salt on this side and a pile of salt on that corner over there to see if that would make it rust. We'll lift this up in a second and check it out. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this big piece of rust. So there was some point in the past few months that people were putting magnets on their Cybertruck for different reasons. Like they just wanted a bumper sticker magnet thing, or they were using magnets to attach lights to it, or whatever they were doing. And comments were saying, yo, you can't put stickers on it. It'll make it rust and it'll mess it up and all that. So of course I immediately came out here and threw some magnets on it to test it out. So I did a few different things here. So here's what I did. Number one, I put just some magnets directly on the stainless steel. I have not checked this out. Now, unfortunately, I did kind of spray paint this area too. I was kind of messing around. But I haven't moved this. I haven't touched it since I put it on. It was months ago. So let's take this off and see. So we have a little circle there. It looks like that circle's probably not really going to come off. I'll try to clean some of this. I'll pause and try. The other thing I did is I just put like a piece of paper behind it to simulate like using a magnet to hold something onto the Cybertruck. So let's move this. I haven't moved any of this since I first put it. And you can see it mostly looks like it just kept that spot cleaner than where this paper was. So this is kind of similar to the rest of it. So there's that. Now this one, I sprinkled salt, road salt, all over this. The same salt I put on my sidewalks in my driveway when there's ice. And that, you can see, is what happens. So that's pretty crazy. So let's pick that up. Oh, buddy, yeah. Now, it's still magnetic. So let me, give me a minute here. I'm going to try to clean this and see if this will just come right off or what will happen with that. But give me 1 second. All right, so about 5 minutes later, here is how we're looking. Much better. All I did was I used this stainless steel cleaner and polish. Follow the directions there. If you want to pause and read those, you can. But basically, you put it on and wipe it off. That's it. You don't have to work too hard. I sprayed it 3 times, and I didn't use much elbow grease, but on the 3rd time, I did kind of push a little harder. It says you don't really need to do that. But it looks better. There's definitely still some rust on there, some staining. Honestly, this feels completely smooth, which makes me think it's more of just a rust staining than actually like eating into the stainless steel. Like I'm trying to tell if there's like pitting or anything on there. Might be the slightest amount. Maybe I'll play with it more and update you on Twitter or something. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Get your car, get your Cybertruck, rinsed off after the road salt. The other thing I did to this panel, I was really abusing it, is here I took a flathead screwdriver, put the flathead screwdriver right there, and I hammered it into the stainless steel here to get some really deep scratches. And again, as you can see, I probably should have tried to clean this too. Well, I can do it and show you. These scratches down here that aren't as deep, they didn't do any of the rusting, but up here where I got much deeper into the stainless steel, it did rust. So let me show you here. Basically just, that's it. It also says use sparingly, which I don't know, I wouldn't really call that sparingly, but there you go. And then wipe that off. So, you know, maybe if you put a little more work into it, maybe there's some other, you know, I have no idea. I didn't look into how to clean this off. But I will say, based off of how that cleaned with barely any effort, I would guess if you put some effort into it, you could get all that off. Now this one, where I put literal, you know, dents and gouges into the stainless, I'm not so sure how you're gonna do there. But even that looks better than it did just a second ago. So you can clean it, but you don't want any big gouges in it. All right, I just turned this over. Sorry for a little out of breath, it's a little heavy. If I turned it over so we could look, so these are the areas that are undamaged and were exposed to salt. And again, I put a pile of salt like this big at each corner here. So right here, so it's pretty dirty. Let's try our cleaning real quick. Man, this is gonna be a long video, huh? Whoops, sorry, nature. There you go. I'm sure the trees love the stainless steel cleaner. Wow, that stuff does clean really well on undamaged stainless steel. You can tell I haven't really used it before. Okay, so now that's mostly clean. Oh yeah, there's still some stuff on there, but there is absolutely zero rust on there. After sitting in a pile of salt, all the snow melting around it. So that's really good. Let's check out the other side here. Bring my spray because it's gonna be dirty as well, but here's untouched. There you go, that's what it looks like before I do anything. We'll clean it off here. Just give it 1 second. And then I'll wipe it off. So that's, that dirt there's a little more stubborn, but oh no, it kind of came right off. That's crazy. Wow, I need to wash my hands after this. This stuff's gonna take my hands off. And wow, that looks real good. There's some little spots there you can see that I might need to work a little harder to get off, you know, if this wasn't just a piece outside. But again, no rust. So if there's no damage and there's no magnet, there's something here, but again, I think that's just dirt from sitting in the leaves and the grass. If there's no damage and there's no magnet, it looks like at least for 1 year and, you know, more salt than you'd actually be exposed to in real life, you're not gonna have to worry about rust. All right, so there you go. Long-term experiment will continue out here. I'm gonna run inside and I'm gonna do the rest of the video from inside with all the data and stuff I've learned over the past year. So I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions or I don't answer anything, just leave those down below and I'll try to get to you. So over the past year, I have thoroughly enjoyed my Cybertruck, but if you are watching this video because you are interested in a Cybertruck or thinking of getting one, I think it makes the most sense to start with my dislikes and what I did not enjoy or like about the Cybertruck, and you can decide if any of those are deal breakers for you, and then I'm going to get into some other topics after that, like what I do like about it, maintenance, driving experience, full self-driving, what I'd improve, and other things like that. Personally, my number one dislike is probably having my name, address, phone number, and other information out there freely available on the internet, but luckily today's sponsor Delete Me can help me with that problem. Delete Me is a service that will wipe your information off of the internet. Data brokers are entities that collect your personal information either through leaks or other legal means. They then compile your information, including your social security, your phone number, your name, your address, your family's names, your work address. I think you get the point. They take all of this stuff and they sell it to third parties. You don't even know this is happening. You don't get a cut of it, but it can lead to identity theft, phishing, and other scams. So it is incredibly important to get this information out of their hands. Legally, data brokers must remove your information when requested, but the problem with that is there are so many data brokers and it can be so hard to even find their websites or your information. It can be a task to get your information removed from a single data broker, let alone all the hundreds or thousands that are out there. With my link down below, you can save 20% with Delete Me, and they will do all of the heavy lifting for you. Delete Me will go around to different data brokers and get your information removed from their websites. I have personally been using Delete Me for well over a year at this point, and I have seen my personal information disappear from these websites overnight. Delete Me will generate periodic reports for you to show you how many data brokers had your information, how many data brokers they've checked, and how many places that Delete Me has wiped your information from. With all the craziness in the world, this service is becoming more and more important, so I encourage you to use my link down below, save 20%, and check out Delete Me today. Thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about the attention you're going to get from driving a Cybertruck. I think it's pretty topical right now. Everyone, at least on the internet, is kind of losing their minds, but in real life, in my experience, this has actually died off a ton. So of course, when the Cybertruck was brand new a year ago, everybody was staring. Anytime, I mean 99% of the time you stepped out of the Cybertruck, somebody was walking up and asking you questions. There were some negative people, but for the most part, people just had questions. A lot of people were really excited about it. I had a lot of interactions where people asked questions, they didn't know it was electric, and then as soon as they found out it was electric, they got very angry and offended at that because they thought their gas vehicles were going to be taken away and their freedoms were being taken away. Now you have a different crowd of people who are offended by the Cybertruck for other reasons, but for the most part, again, in real life, nobody really looks anymore. Nobody cares so much. But if there are not a lot of Cybertrucks in your area, I would assume you will get some type of attention. You'll probably mostly get just curiosity. You'll get some excited kids. You'll get some positive attention, and you'll get some negative attention too, potentially. But in the past several months, I have had really no interactions to speak of. So another dislike of mine is the Cybertruck was delivered with a lot of promises that were not there initially, like full self-driving wasn't available with the truck. The wheel covers were not delivered with the truck, and some other things. And most of that is now available, except one big thing for me. One of the main reasons that I wanted the Cybertruck, one of my favorite features, was power share. This is where the Cybertruck just plugged into your normal Tesla wall connector could then back up the power to your home. If you have a power outage, you could use that gigantic 123 kilowatt hour battery in the Cybertruck to power your home. We do lose power occasionally, which is funny with electric vehicles, but having that huge battery in the Cybertruck, I was very excited to be able to use that. Well, it's still not available over a year later. This is still not working if you have Tesla Powerwalls. We have had 2 Tesla Powerwalls for about 4 years now, and that is about 27 kilowatt hours. So adding another 123 kilowatt hours on top of that is obviously a huge upgrade, and I was very excited for it, and I'm still waiting. And as of now, the expected release of that is Q3 of 2025. So it'll be over a year and a half after I received my Cybertruck that I'll potentially get this feature, but it's been being pushed back. It was supposed to be the end of 2024, then Q1 of 2025. Now it's Q3 of 2025. So who knows when or if this will actually ever show up, and it is very disappointing. Another dislike is warranty work. I have had to take the Cybertruck to service several times in my ownership. I have videos documenting these different things, but one was for the wiper. They had to replace the wiper motor. Another was for pieces of trim that they had to replace. Now, to be clear, I didn't have trouble with most of these things. These were all kind of like proactive things they were changing out before there was a problem, but it's still annoying to have to go into the service center, waste your time doing that. Now, Tesla was always nice enough to give me a loaner, and I heard that they were trying to treat the early Cybertruck owners extra special because they knew we paid a lot of money to get these Cybertrucks early. And so the experience was good. It's just, it shouldn't have been an experience at all. I did expect that with such a new vehicle. I kind of figured like, yeah, there's going to be some work, but it was still annoying. The other one is my rear motor failed. And the good news was my truck was still drivable, even though the rear motor inverter needed to be replaced and the rear motor wasn't working, but the top speed was like 60 or 65 miles per hour. I didn't feel safe on the highway. So even though Tesla, made an appointment for me, I think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks later, I just went in the next day and said, look, I need a loaner. I can't drive this thing around. It's not safe. They gave me a Model Y. They had it fixed by the next day. All right, here we go. No rear motor. We're going to do a 0 to 60 here. There's nobody behind us. Let's hit it and see what happens. All right, here we go. To the floor. Look at that. Oh my goodness. To the floor. I got the pedal to the floor still this entire time. So it seems like the initial oomph is just, there's none. And then as it ramps up, the acceleration at this speed, let me get down to like 50 here. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's lacking big time. But the acceleration at 50 actually feels better than that acceleration at 0. I cannot believe how wimpy this thing feels. And I can hear the front motor. It is so loud. It does almost sound like it's struggling a little bit. So I'm just hoping I don't deal with this for too long. But overall, the experiences were good. I just should not have had to have those experiences. The good news about this part, though, is anyone taking delivery of a new Cybertruck today, pretty much everything has been taken care of. It doesn't mean new warranty issues will not pop up in the future, but as of now, there's really nothing that's known that should go wrong with a new Cybertruck. The squeaky interior is another annoyance of mine. There's no rattles, luckily, but a few different pieces of trim definitely squeak and creak as you're driving down the road. Now, for me, this is mostly happening on the dirt roads that I drive often, but even when you're, say, making a turn on a paved road or accelerating hard, you'll just hear the interior trim pieces kind of squeaking and creaking. Now, I think I can fix most of this myself. I really don't want to go back to Tesla service anymore because I feel like I've been there enough. But again, on such an expensive vehicle, this thing is supposed to be so nice. And it is very quiet for the most part, but that just accentuates the creaks because everything else is so quiet. This has been a big annoyance of mine because you do hear it a lot. Now, despite Cybertruck's weird shape, its visibility is pretty good, but the A-pillars in the front of the Cybertruck are a huge obstruction. These A-pillars are massive, and in a lot of new cars, because most cars now have airbags in the A-pillars, the A-pillars are pretty big, but because of the extreme angle, the long length, of the A-pillars, on top of them being even bigger than you're used to in cars, they block a lot of visibility. Now on straight roads, highways, faster roads, it's not that big of a deal, but when you're driving in a smaller downtown area or driving more slowly or making tight turns, there are just times where you simply cannot see that area very well and you just have to go very slow. I am not a huge fan of the efficiency of the Cybertruck, and it's pretty funny because out of the electric trucks available, it is actually one of the most efficient, and especially if you compare it to a gas truck, if you were to get this instead of, say, just a normal gas F-150, efficiency is through the roof in comparison to those vehicles. But I'm coming from smaller electric vehicles. I used to drive a Model 3, I used to drive a Model Y, and Cybertruck uses more energy than those. And of course it does. It's way heavier, it's way bigger, so it has worse aerodynamics, and it brings utility with those things. But I do notice that extra energy usage, and it's something I care about, and I'm always looking for ways to reduce that. One way is when I do finally replace my tires, I will be getting road tires instead of all-terrain tires. That should improve my efficiency just a little bit. But if this isn't something you care about, you don't really have to worry about it. It's just something for me that I'm kind of obsessed with, always getting the best efficiency, and moving to this gigantic electric vehicle has been not the best experience when compared to a smaller electric vehicle, although it does make perfect sense. And then a big negative in general for the Cybertruck is depreciation. So when the Cybertruck was first revealed, Tesla said they were going to charge $100,000 for the Foundation Series dual motor or $120,000 for the Foundation Series tri-motor Beast. Tesla clearly told us this has a $20,000 non-optional package that includes things like upgraded wheels and tires, full self-driving, lifetime premium connectivity, and other add-ons. When you parse it out, you really do get the value, especially on the Beast. I think the tri-motor got well over $20,000 worth of these options, but if you don't want some of these things, it was an extra added cost that you pretty much volunteered for, because of course nobody forced me or anyone else to take delivery of these Foundation vehicles. Well, now that Tesla has moved on from Foundation Series and you can get the dual motor starting at $79,990, which then you add in the tax credit, you're really going down to like $72,000. Cybertruck prices are really dropping. There may also be a demand issue. I think we need to wait another 6 to 12 months to really know if that's true, but it is a possibility and something to look out for. It seems electric vehicles in general do depreciate really fast. So if this is something you're worried about, you should definitely look into used options, or maybe wait a year or 3 and see what used Cybertruck prices are looking like, because you could probably get a really good deal in those times. I do want to note a large factor in my decision to actually go ahead and buy this Foundation Series dual motor has to do with the fact that I run a YouTube channel about these EVs. I can write this vehicle off as a business expense. On top of that, I got a lot of really good sponsor deals in order to take really early delivery of this Cybertruck. So for me, it is a huge win. Even if I was to sell my Cybertruck at half of what I paid today, I would come out way ahead thanks to those different factors. But it is not something, of course, that most people are going to be able to factor in. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer and made perfect sense to do, but you'll want to make sure if there's any way you can take advantage of something like that yourself. I have heard of people picking up Cybertrucks for their businesses in order to use it as a write-off, and other ways to just make the purchase make more sense. So let's move on to some of my likes, some of the things that I'm really enjoying about the Cybertruck. The insurance cost, actually, I couldn't believe it. It is only $125 a month for me to insure the Cybertruck. That's even less than what I was paying for my 2021 Tesla Model Y. I couldn't believe it. The person, the insurance person on the phone couldn't believe it, but it was a huge perk for that to go down just a little bit. Fuel costs are awesome. I pay about $10 for a full charge at home. That's going from 0% to 100%. Of course, I don't use that every single day. I use about 30% of my battery per day to go like to work and back. So that's only about $36 a month in electricity. Now, I only drive into work 3 days a week usually. If I was to go to work 5 days a week, if I was to drive in 5 days a week, it would cost me about $60 a month, which is still a great deal. This does factor in the fact that I have solar, so you'll have to kind of do the calculations for yourself. But this is my current cost, and it's an average. In the summer, my costs are actually pretty close to zero, and in the winter, my costs will be a little bit more than what I'm saying here, but it averages to that. And just for comparison, the Ford Focus I used to drive cost me $150 a week. So I'm currently paying less than half in electricity of what I paid for gas in a Ford Focus compared to a Tesla Cybertruck. Now, extrapolate that to like a Tesla Model 3, which is using less than half the energy of a Cybertruck. I mean, the savings in fuel are really crazy, especially, again, we're talking about $100,000 Cybertruck. So you're not really talking savings overall, but say you get, a used Model 3 or something like that, the savings can add up real quick. Now, I talked about the A-pillar getting in the way of some of that visibility, but the forward visibility, the straightforward visibility is amazing. In traditional pickup trucks, even something like the Rivian, you have basically a barn in front of you when you're driving. You have this huge block. It's just, the engine area in a gas truck or the front area in a Rivian. And this thing takes up so much room. And the way that the Cybertruck is shaped with its sloping nose and really short nose, you can see everything out of the front. And it is such a nice experience compared to traditional pickup truck shapes. The comfort is also a huge like for me. The steer-by-wire, the suspension, all plays into this. It is amazing. Being able to steer and turn with that steer-by-wire really quickly and smoothly helps a lot. The suspension absorbs everything. It is better than a Model X suspension. It's better than Rivian suspensions. I have not driven in the brand new, refreshed Rivians, but the old Rivians, the Cybertruck blows the original Rivian R1T out of the water in terms of suspension, at least in my experience. And then I do also enjoy the firm seats, although this may be subjective if you like squishier seats. I actually do think I prefer the Model Y style seats over the Cybertruck, but I still find the seats in the Cybertruck to be plenty comfortable. We've gone on road trips to Florida a couple of times, and I had no issues with all that sitting. Now, outside of the squeaks and creaks I talked about earlier, the cabin is very quiet. There is some wind noise, of course, at highway speeds, but it's really not bad. At lower speeds, the isolation is amazing in the Cybertruck. Tesla did a really good job with this, especially compared to my older Teslas like my 2021 Model Y. Of course, it's a truck. You gotta love the utility, especially the locking storage in the bed. Now, it's nice to have a big bed in your truck. The Cybertruck comes with a 6-foot bed, but if it's not lockable storage, if it's easy to get in there, if you have like a soft tonneau cover or no tonneau cover, you can't just throw things in there and leave it, which is kind of how I like to do it. With the Cybertruck, you have the vault, and so that cover, that automatic electric rolling cover on the top of the Cybertruck can support something like 300 pounds. It's really almost impossible to get into the Cybertruck bed if it's locked, and having all of that storage that's lockable is really nice. On top of that, you have the front trunk. It's still the only electric frunk in Tesla's lineup, and having it electric makes me use it a lot more. In my Model Y, I pretty much never use the frunk because it's not electric, and just, I don't know, something about the way that it worked, I just didn't use it. With the Cybertruck, I actually use the frunk all the time because it's so easy to open and close from the app, from the button on the outside of the truck, from the buttons on the inside of the truck, on the screen, of course, or whatever way I do it. It's just way easier and more convenient to use, so I do use it often. And then leading my like category is the charging time, whether that's at superchargers or home charging, and then the charge on solar capability. I wanted to talk about some things that if you own a Tesla, are kind of obvious, but if you're thinking about getting a Tesla or an electric car, these are things you might not think about. Being able to just charge at home, get home, plug in, and it's full every morning is such a huge bonus and benefit. It doesn't seem like going to the gas station is that big of a deal, on the daily, going once or twice a week, until you don't have to do it anymore. And then you go, wow, that actually is a huge inconvenience in my life that I didn't need to be doing. So being able to charge at home is huge for me. Because I rarely use more than, say, 50 to 60% of the battery on the daily, with most days being closer to 30 or 40% use, I really only have to charge, let's say, 3 to 5 hours a day with the Tesla wall connector. And again, I sleep for, 6 to 8 hours a day. So it's very easy to get that charging done on the daily and just, again, be full every morning. On top of that, the Cybertruck, because I have power walls, will automatically charge itself whenever there's excess solar energy. So this makes my charging absolutely free. I have it set up so that if I need extra range, the Cybertruck will charge despite having solar or not. But on days when I don't need to do a lot of driving, or I know I'm not going to be driving for a couple of days, it will only charge itself up if there's excess solar, meaning all of that charging ends up being free. We can talk about maintenance on the Cybertruck. There really hasn't been any in the first year. I have rotated the tires once at 12,000 miles. I really need to do that again, and I meant to check the tread depth. Maybe I'll do that before I finish this video and put it up in text on the screen or something. But as of now, I would expect to get around 30,000 miles out of the stock tires, but we'll see how that goes. I'll update you when I change them. I have also added washer fluid one time, and I think I need to add it again. So let's say 2 washer fluid additions in 1 year. It does fit the whole gallon jug, which is great. That's always important in a vehicle. I also did get hit, so I talked about that in the beginning, and I replaced that rear quarter panel.
can't remember. It's been so long. I can't remember exactly how long it took. It took a couple of days, I think, for them to replace it. Let's say 3 days just to be safe. And they did a good job on that. And I did take advantage when it was getting replaced, and they did some warranty work. So that saved me some time. So I didn't have to make like an extra appointment. I do want to mention the stainless steel will scratch. If you have like a stainless steel sink, go look in your sink and you'll see it's like full of scratches. It's kind of the same thing as the Cybertruck. It is superficial. This is not going to hurt the truck. It's not going to rust. It's not going to, make anything bad happen to it. It's just a look. So I did end up getting a wrap. Now, the main reason I got this is because, again, I got my Cybertruck very early. It was the second delivered in Michigan. And somebody who worked at a wrap company saw it and said, hey, we want to wrap, one of the first Cybertrucks in Michigan. We'll do it for you for just cost of materials, which ended up being about $1,000, instead of, I think, like $4,000 or $5,000 that they would have charged. And I said, you know what, let's do it. It'll look nice. And for that price, I'll try it out. And I do like the wrap because it makes washing the Cybertruck easier. I noticed when I would go through a car wash with the bare stainless steel, like it would get it clean and it would get, of course, all the dirt and stuff off. But the stainless steel just had kind of a weird look to it after. It wasn't like a painted car where you take it through a car wash and then it looks brand new again. It looked like it still needed something done to it. I don't exactly know how to put my finger on it, but it didn't look completely clean, like it was done being cleaned. It needed an additional step. The wrap kind of fixes that. I can now go through car washes, and I don't want to get into wraps too much. I don't know that much about them, and you're kind of supposed to avoid car washes, but I don't really care. So I did that, and now I can go through the car wash. It gets cleaned up. This prevents, the fingerprint thing, which I didn't, to me isn't a big deal, but I know it bothers some people. And it stops the scratching of the stainless steel if that's something you care about. But it is worth noting the stainless steel will get superficial scratches on it. You'll see them. It doesn't hurt it, but it does bother some people. Driving the Cybertruck has been amazing. As I said, we took it on 2 road trips from Michigan to Florida, and both were great. I mean, they were amazing experiences. Charging times were great. I mean, it was very comparable to our Tesla Model X, our Tesla Model Y. It can take a little longer to charge the Cybertruck, but depending on how you drive, it's not going to be that different. We have 2 young kids, and so we have to make a lot of stops anyway. Every time we have taken a road trip with the kids, we make more stops than the Cybertruck needs to charge. And so for us, it's a non-issue. If you're just like on your own and you're trying to like go as fast as you can, it'll never be as fast as a gas car, of course, but the charging time is a lot faster than you think. Next time you're on a road trip with your gas car, just time yourself. Your charging, or your gas addition stops in your gas car are not quite as fast as you think. People like to think they spend 5 minutes getting gas on a road trip, and it usually ends up being closer to 10 or 15 minutes, maybe even a little more than that. And a lot of your charging stops can be 15 minutes. The longer ones will be about 40 minutes. And that time goes by faster than you think. But anyway, the driving experience has been great. It's just so comfortable on rural roads, big highways, everything. It is good at everything. It's good at driving in all these scenarios. Sometimes in smaller downtowns, it can feel a little claustrophobic, but keep in mind the Cybertruck is pretty much the exact same dimensions as a standard F-150. So even though it looks weird, it's not that huge of a size. It's kind of a standard pickup truck size. So outside of those smaller downtowns, Cybertruck is really nice in every scenario. I did take it to an off-road park to try that out. I'm not that experienced in that, but it again was a lot of fun. Cybertruck was very capable. There was another guy there who had a lot of experience in the off-road park, and he was surprised at how capable the Cybertruck was. He was kind of one of these like, oh, what a piece of junk. And then when he saw it do some things, he said, oh, okay, it's actually pretty good. So, that was a good experience for both of us. And I had a lot of fun. It was hard to do because I was using my daily driver and I didn't want to break the thing and be without a vehicle while it got fixed for, multiple weeks. But overall, that was a great experience as well. Full self-driving on the Cybertruck was not there initially. It is there now, and it works very well. It still doesn't work quite as well as the Model Y or Model 3. It doesn't have the reverse capability. It cannot start full self-driving from park. You have to first put it in drive. But once you're on the road and driving, it's very similar. I do find full self-driving in the Cybertruck is a little more timid than what I find in the Model Y, but I have a lot of videos about that, so go check those out if you want to know more. Overall, it works really well. I have many drives where I'll just maybe press the accelerator a couple of times in 30 minutes, and that's about all I'll have to do. Now, there are a couple of things I would improve with the Cybertruck if I had the capability, and number one is a bigger battery option. Now, the funny thing about this is I've owned Teslas for 6 years now, and the about 300-ish miles of advertised range I've had on all of them has been enough. I've never been in a scenario where I've run out of range or had to be rescued or didn't make it to a charger. With that said, there are a lot of times, especially in the very cold parts of the winter, where it would be nice to have that extra range. So I'm conflicted on this one, but I do believe it should be an option for us to have bought a Cybertruck with about 450-ish miles of range, I think is really the sweet spot. Now, I realize that there's the range extender. It's an additional $16,000. That'll get you up to about 470 miles of range. But I don't know. It takes away some of your bed space, and it's just kind of goofy, and it's not even available as of now. So it's not my favorite option. Once it's there and available, I guess that's cool, but I can't see myself spending the additional money to remove space out of my truck bed, which I really use a lot, to get that extra range that most days I don't need. Now, I don't tow anything, but if you're towing all the time, I think the range extender is a no-brainer, and you would really want to get it if you're towing, medium to long distances. And then really the only other improvement that I would want is the interior tightness. The interior is so squeaky and weird, and the Cybertruck overall is so premium and feels so nice in so many other areas. The interior having all these loose, squeaky parts is just really weird and doesn't fit with the rest of the truck. Overall, I have had a great time with my Cybertruck over the past year. My kids love it. It's been an awesome road trip vehicle. It's good for commuting because the efficiency, at least again compared to gasoline trucks, is really good. It's convenient to have it full every morning, and going back to not having a truck bed would be really difficult for me at this point. It's not something I use every day, but I have used the bed of the Cybertruck enough that I would hate to not have it anymore. And despite the weirdness online, in real life, most people don't care about your Cybertruck. You'll get some people that have questions. You'll get a couple people here and there that don't like it. But for the most part, people either don't care or they're interested and think it's cool or just have a couple of questions. If I had to do it all over again and could decide between buying my Cybertruck back then or waiting and keeping my old Model Y or getting a new Model 3 or anything else, I would definitely go with the Cybertruck again. Due to the dramatically better efficiency and blending in of the new Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, they do tempt me to go back to the smaller vehicle platform, and having the more capable FSD is also really intriguing to me. But the Cybertruck has been an experience that you can't get in any other vehicle, and it's been a great year.